What's up, guys? I'm here with Matt from Titan Vans. He is the founder and CEO. We are going to be touring their facility, and then we're also going to be touring their Metis van and the Ultra van.
Hey, I'm Matt, Titan Vans. We're excited to have everybody here checking out the new space. We'll be doing a quick tour, going through the showroom, offices, and then kind of showing you guys behind the curtain and where we get stuff done and talk about some of the different things that we do here at Titan Vans and some of the other brands that are sort of under Titan Vans. So.
Awesome, man. How'd you get started with van building?
So my background's in engineering. My degree is applied physics. So I finished my degree here in Colorado, School of Mines. So that was kind of my technical background. So a lot of design work, CNC operation, electrical, all that stuff is kind of what encapsulated in my degree.
Yeah.
And just a passion for outdoor and sort of alternative living. I built truck campers. I've lived out of tents for extended periods of time.
How long ago was that? Truck campers and
Truck campers. So I moved out here. I was living out of my truck for like 2 years when I moved out here to Colorado. So that was like 2012, probably that prior year. So 2011 to almost like 2013, I was living out of my truck. Before that, I traveled a lot. So I was in South America, Southeast Asia, just doing a lot of backpacking. For that, when I was actually in college, I lived in a tent for almost a year and a half, full time. So, just done a lot of different, just outdoor living, adventure, that sort of stuff. And so then when I moved out here to Colorado, probably in 2013, mid 2013 is when I purchased and built my first van with my now wife.
was it like a DIY project for you guys, or was it a client build?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just totally for ourselves.
Awesome.
I was just kind of like well before there was any very little information. At that time, there was not even a fraction of the
What was it, like
companies.
2015?
That was probably mid 2013.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when I built my
Very
first
long
van,
ago.
there just wasn't much out there. There wasn't a lot of products. There wasn't a lot of information. Sourcing stuff was really difficult. There just was a lack of information or anybody that talking about, how you assemble things or how you build and that sort of
Exactly.
stuff. So it took a long time to build the first one, as anybody who's done it themselves sort of knows. It's gotten a lot easier now because there's so much information out there.
Exactly.
But even now, it's still difficult, to slog through all the information
Yeah.
out there.
A lot of overwhelm. Even when it comes to finding a professional van build, you gotta get through all of the builders, figure out what layout you want, all the different options.
Yeah,
Crap.
and if you do it yourself, I mean, trying to figure out what type of wire and where to source it and
Exactly.
how much are you gonna need, and, I mean, that can just be, so many details to go over. So the first one, took us a while. We rebuilt it several times and then just had a lot of people interested in it, and then we lived out of that for almost 2 years full time out of the van, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we traveled for about 8 months out of it, and just everywhere we went, it's kind of was at that point starting to gain traction, like, that the camper van world. And so, we were getting a lot of people coming up, be like, hey, can we check out your van? So, I mean, you couldn't really go anywhere without somebody coming up and talking to you. So it's pretty clear to me that there was demand and there were people pretty interested in it. Once we were kind of wrapping up traveling and kind of deciding what the next phase was going to look like, I started applying to engineering positions. So I had some background in like wireless communication devices and stuff. I worked at NIST for a little while prior to going traveling. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's a government research lab that's here in Boulder. They do a lot of stuff. So they're the ones who like define what a second is, what a meter is, what a kilogram is. So they do a lot of like fundamental science. And then obviously they do a lot of stuff. So they're doing like a lot of quantum computers and stuff that like many people don't think about.
Yeah.
But NIST is actually the one who did like the report on 9/11 when like the buildings fell. So they do a lot of structural engineering and
That's awesome.
really cool.
So
They do a lot of cool stuff.
I'm very technical background.
So yeah, so I was looking to do jobs there, and then as I was applying and kind of starting to do interviews, I was like, pretty interested in this. I saw it was kind of demand. Let me just see
100%.
if I can make it work. And so then just kind of started doing it, and then just kept going from there. And so yeah, I never really jumped into sort of like full engineer profession. This kind of took over, and been doing this for like 8 years now.
Yeah, you built an incredible company, and I know you guys do the professionally built vans, and then they also do the DIY kits, which are amazing. Matt is literally, he's like the Elon Musk of van building, I like to say, and you guys are going to get to see that as we tour his vans and tour his facility. Every single thing they do is extremely well thought out. Everything is very well engineered, very well built. So yeah, let's get into it.
We'll jump in. So to preface it, obviously we moved in like 6 weeks ago. So we've been doing a lot of sort of just infrastructure. I mean, we had refinishing concrete, cutting walls, running electrical, plumbing. I mean, just massive amount of stuff. So lots of good stuff to look at. come a long ways, even though it's like 6 weeks that we've been in here. But by no means is this sort of like where we'll be. I think no, another couple months and it's gonna be a different looking shop. But there's some cool stuff, so we'll definitely get into it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's
Show you
do
where
it,
we're at.
man.
So
Excited.
so up front here, obviously, I'm excited to have sort of that showroom space where we can have some vans on display. So we're going to be working on building this space out, kind of improving, having some tablets set up in different locations so customers can come in and kind of interact and actually like, the van and kind of touch it and kind of get information about it. We're going to be working on building out a lounge area over here for customers to hang out because we do service, alignments, oil changes, installations of a lot of stuff. So lift kits, suspension.
Yeah.
So as people are getting work done, they can hang out, have a coffee.
So is the servicing mainly maintenance and upgrades, or is it also like fixing stuff that
Yep.
other?
Yeah, we do repairs as well. So we're certified storyteller, repair center. We work on outside vans. We're also work with them a lot, and then Winnebago Echoes,
Yes.
Revels, work on all sorts of makes and models and DIY builds. We get people coming in that are having issues with something they installed or some other builder,
Yeah.
smaller builder installed. So we can tackle a lot of stuff.
That's awesome. What would you say are like some of the most common issues you guys see in your service center?
A lot of electrical. Like we got a couple of storytellers in here.
Yeah.
Just their systems fixing stuff, replacing components or whatever. It was Volta before. They switched to Lithionics now. Systems that are coming in that a lot of times it's technical. If somebody has like cabinetry or something, that's usually something they can kind of fix.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we don't really jump in on that side too much. But plumbing repairs, doing a lot of Starlink installations, a lot of suspension installations. Webasto is doing this time of year, heading into winter now. So we'll see a lot of Webasto installations and people that haven't been running their Webastos. So they're coming in, being like, it's not working. And then they get a
This suddenly realize as it gets
same deal. Let him use it for the last 6 months and, you're supposed to run them once a month. And so anyways, so those are some of the big ones. It's seasonal. Then we'll see a lot more air conditioner installs in the summertime, a lot of window installations. But yeah, we do all sorts of stuff. Pop top. Yeah, lots of different service options. So
obviously you guys are unique because you also have a service center, right?
Yep.
And so you get to see a service center that not is only for your own vans, but for other builders' vans as well, right?
Yep.
So having seen some of the mistakes that other builders might have made, what advice would you give to people who are looking to go with like a professional builder who can deliver a quality product that's not going to cause them so many issues?
There's a lot of small builders out there that are kind of getting their start. And I'd say, there's a lot of great cabinet makers. But the cabinetry is such a small part of the build. I think the electrical system is, what I think a lot of people are intimidated by and is arguably the more complicated portion of a build. But I'd say, really making sure that if you're looking at a van, you want to look at how they're doing the electrical system, how they do their connections, how they manage their wires. Not only is it one of the more consequential ones, like, if somebody doesn't assemble a cabinet well, okay, a door could fall off or,
Exactly.
whatever. But somebody doesn't do an electrical portion right, you got fire, or you're just going to have just issue after issue where you're trying to run stuff and things are failing and connections are failing. And you're just always tracking down bugs. And that can be really frustrating because electrical can be hard to diagnose. Because if you got one bad ground, it can give you 100 different symptoms.
Exactly.
And it's really hard to track down that thing. And
those are the types of things that could like literally ruin your adventure. Like imagine you're literally out in the middle of nowhere or you're trying to go on a road trip or an adventure. And then suddenly you realize that the electrical system's not working. And now instead of going out and traveling, you have to go and get it repaired. And it's just like,
and trying to find somebody that can work on it, right?
Exactly.
Because depending on how people build it, you can really make things that are not very serviceable. So, things that I really stress the way that we do things and just based out of experience, nothing's perfect. Even us, we're not perfect. Things happen. I tell people all the time, we're the trickle down of every vendor that we purchase for. We have over 400 vendors that we buy things from on a regular basis, right? And so their QC trickles down to us. And so even if we do our job as best or almost perfect, and something can still fail.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that things are accessible. It's really easy to build something one time. It's hard to build something that can be taken apart and put back together a whole bunch of times. And so serviceability is a big thing to look for, right? Like, okay, it's cool. Like your batteries are mounted underneath the vehicle. Well, imagine trying to test those batteries or to swap those batteries.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've had some vans come in that you literally have to drop the gas tank to drop the batteries.
Oh, wow.
Because of the way they mounted it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like their brackets and their bolts and all that stuff. Like you just can't get tools to it. So all of a sudden you're like, what should be a 30-minute job turns into 4 hours just to get batteries out, right? And so somebody just didn't think about servicing. It's like, who's that person that's going to be next? If anyone's ever done remodels, they know what this is like. It's like,
Yeah.
who's that person that built it before you? And then all of a sudden you see all the corners that were cut when you actually start tearing it apart.
So
I
it's
think,
longevity essentially is what you're
well, longevity is, I think, if you build it well, it will have longevity, but regardless, you're going to have to service it. Like, how do you get access to the batteries? How do you get access to the electrical? How do you get access to the plumbing? How are things mounted? How do you
100%.
take them out? Warranty for us is a lose-lose situation, right? So we try and minimize warranty at any opportunity we can, because if a customer is coming back, now all of a sudden they're wasting their time, we're spending time, and it's at our expense because it's warranty, right? And no one wins.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we want to make sure that in the event that there is warranty and something needs to be switched out, it is as easy to get to as possible. So we try and kind of, our litmus test is, can it be swapped within 30 minutes, right? Regardless of the component, how long does it take to swap it? And we're not going to bury things to the point where, like, oh, you're ripping cabinets out, you're ripping panels out, you're doing all this stuff just to get access to that one thing. That's not the way we design. So I think when people are going and looking, if they're trying to vet builders, or even if they're doing it themselves, think about not just putting it in the one time, but what if you had to take that thing out?
Exactly.
Make sure you design it and you looking at how people are building in a way that, like, how easy is for me to do that
100%.
or to have somebody else do it. The electrical system, just make sure that they're doing it to a very high quality. I mean, they should be using like UL listed components, right? So you can buy wire from Home Depot. That's not the wire that should be installed in a van, right? And so, making sure they're using the correct type of wire, asking the questions, looking at how they make their connections. I think a good indication of somebody that's doing really good wiring is just how they do their wire management,
100%.
how it's organized, how it's tied up or whatever. If it's pretty clean electrical, you usually need to thought put into it. When it's like wires going every direction, it's just kind of like, put the panel over the top and don't worry about it.
And that becomes an issue because when you're trying to screw other things in there, you might hit a wire or something like that.
Yeah, and yeah, totally can be. And then not only that, I mean, so we test, right? So our wiring harness is tested 3 times. We build our wiring harnesses, and right now we don't have our wire wall set up, but like, we have a nice jig that we use to actually build our wiring harnesses. You test all the wires there. So you use a high voltage, it's like a high pot tester is what it's called. It's a high voltage thing. So essentially, like, it's a high pressure test if you're thinking about it in plumbing. So you push a whole bunch of pressure into it and you see if there's any leaks, and you can tell a leak if there's a voltage drop. So you test all the wires when you first build the harness, make sure there's no bad wires in there. Then you do a rough in, you test it all then, and then we test it at the very end after everything is installed. So to your point, like, if a screw ever did, now we manage our wires, and we actually, obviously where we're putting screws, we know exactly where to and not to. And then we test at the very end to make sure that nothing was nicked or damaged in the process of installation. So that's just with the high pot tester. And then obviously we test all the components as well. We torque and tick every single electrical connection. So I mean, there's just like layers upon layers. That sort of thoroughness that goes through to make sure that there's no warranty issues.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And we've done a really good job on that front. So
Awesome.
So if you're looking at those things, serviceability, electrical systems, it's still important. You need strong cabinets. You don't want things falling down. Talking about insulation, I just think it's not as important as people think it is. It's good. Insulation helps, and it's important. It's going to help keep the vans quiet. It's going to help reduce thermal transfer, but you're fighting a metal box with R0 windows. So like, there's certain elements where I wouldn't get hung up on it. Like, everyone has their own opinion about how to do insulation and where to do it and how much and all that stuff. But I don't think it's the most important aspect. I think if I were to organize it, right, electrical, serviceability, plumbing, cabinetry, those things, you should really look and understand how the builder is doing it and making sure that you understand, because at some point it's going to be you do it. If you're on the road, you might have to find somebody to help, but it's still important that you kind of understand how they go about it.
So I mean, essentially there's a lot of builders out there, but your job as a buyer is essentially to kind of filter through the noise and really find out who's going to build the quality van that you deserve, right? Like, when you're spending money like this, it's a big investment, not only financially, but also lifestyle wise, right? Like, this is literally going to contribute to your happiness, to the fulfillment, to the dream that you're looking to live on the road and travel, right? So you want to really do your due diligence and make sure you're going with the right builder, someone who's really has high standards when it comes to all of the things that Matt just mentioned.
I see a lot of people trying to choose based on like proximity. You know what I mean? There's like, well, I found this guy that's close to me and he was building vans, and I looked at him and they look nice. And I'm just like, awesome. Like, let us know if we can help in the future. You know what I mean? Because like, I've heard so many stories of customers that opted that route and then we end up fixing them here, So most of our customers are not in Colorado. We work almost exclusively with people outside of Colorado. So like, then we are very comfortable with working with people far away. And if there's issues or whatever, we've never had a problem getting people taken care of. And so while, I think for some people it puts them at ease to know that they're really close, I don't think that is the highest metric people should be looking at. Just because they're close, you can still have a ton of problems and they can still not stand behind their thing. And if they're a really small company and they're doing that a lot, they're not going to be around very long.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and that actually happened, like, especially right now when the market's kind of a little bit of a downturn, right? I know there was a builder who, I'm not going to say any names, obviously, but like they built a van for a customer, literally like a month and a half into it, they started getting electrical issues, as you said. But in that time, the builder literally went out of business, and it's like now the customer's kind of screwed. He's on his own, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of stories, and it's unfortunate, because I mean, I think it's probably both parties were well intentioned,
100%,
but
yeah.
when somebody starts losing that much money, they're gonna close doors or do whatever. I mean, we've had people call, they're like, "Hey, I'm closing. I got like 6 customers. Do you want to take them on?" And I'm just like, we don't know what you built, how you
Yeah,
built it. Like, I'm happy to chat with them, but it's gonna be like we're probably starting from scratch here,
exactly.
just trying to jump in. It's like any contractor, like trying to finish some job that someone started and they do it a different way. It's gonna be
It's basically DIY custom at that point, right?
I mean, we tried to help people out in the past and some of them have gone okay, most don't. It's just tough to start from that
100%.
spot. So anyways, that's one thing. Yeah, it can be nice if somebody's close by and they're a really reputable
Yeah.
company, and there's some great ones out there, outside vans, sync vans. There's others too that kind of top of mind. Cool. If you're in Oregon and they're right there,
Yeah.
you really like them and you got a budget for them, do it, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing to have them close by. But I've had some customers be like, yeah, I don't know. You guys are in Colorado. I'm in Idaho. I'm going to just go with this dude that's building it out of his garage or something. I was like, I looked at his vans. They look nice. I'm just like, if that works for you, great. I hope it works out. But more often than not, I've heard stories where it just, had they gone with us, even though we're not nearby,
Yeah.
I know what our product
100%.
is. And that's
Stand
another
by.
way. Yeah. And I know that if there's any issues, like just because something looks nice and can take good photos, right? The Instagram vans, it means nothing about how it was built,
Exactly. Yeah.
how well it worked. Does it rattle going down? I mean, it's just like the list is endless.
And that's the thing, right? Like people, they see stuff on Instagram and on there, it looks beautiful, it looks polished, it looks amazing. The build might be going viral. And so they're judging it based on those
Yeah.
metrics. But like what happens, like you said, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years down the line, in many cases, they don't even get to the 2 year mark, right? Like a lot of people, they get frustrated with the van, they end up selling it and then eventually upgrading to something
Yep.
else.
We've had a lot of people doing that. Yeah, for sure. Getting, having the experience with previous vans. So we are direct to consumer and we handle the entire process, right? So we start from the initial point of contact, designing, helping with like picking out the model and their options, manufacturing the vehicle, and then all the post-sale support, right? And so we don't use third parties for that. We're not going through RV dealerships to do that. Customers walk in here, we know them on a first name basis,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're not a massive company. We do anywhere from 30 to 50 vans a year. When you get too big, I think it's easy to kind of just treat people more as a number.
And then you got to get like more funding investors, and then they're trying to cut down on
Potentially.
costs, and then you lose
Well,
quality.
I mean, we have no investors here. Yeah, I mean, everything we've done is growing organically, and I think
Congratulations.
yeah. I mean, super fortunate to be able to have made that happen. And I think it's a testament to the product, right?
Yeah.
Like the product will help sell itself. People are throwing a lot of money into a company, but not taking care of the products. It's not going to last long term.
Exactly.
And so my tact has always been to just grow as we can, let the product lead.
Exactly.
If we're not building the right thing, the market will tell us, right? And we're not going to make sales. So I'm not going to dump a whole bunch of money if the market's not giving us that feedback. So our sales are strong. We're,
That's awesome.
we're fortunate. So we continue to move in that direction and we get the feedback and we keep designing and keep trying to improve. So
Let's continue to move in that.
I know we could go on forever, man. So we got all of our offices. We got design back there. Our service managers right up here, right up front. Masha back here does all of our timber sales. And so this will be like a timber display back here.
Nice.
So we're going to have a full timber model that we're going to build out. This will all get kind of built out as like a timber design. So timber is one of our brands. That's essentially our DIY brand where we do conversions, kits, and a la carte components.
And the kits, is it just the woodwork or is it also other like?
Oh yeah, we'll get into it. I'll show you. Yeah, so we're doing electrical wiring harnesses, all the structural stuff, the wood components, battery systems. Yeah, it's kind of, we got our upholstery room that we set up. This will be moving into the back eventually, but we got it kind of temporarily set up here. We've got our kitchen, break room in this area.
Awesome.
Really nice. They had a courtyard space outside.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, facility.
Yeah, I know. We're super excited.
Did you guys get it like everything like custom built in here?
We made some pretty heavy modifications, but a lot of it was we were fortunate to find some of this office space was already built out. So they had done a
Yeah.
nice job previously. This was actually a Sea to Summit that was in here. They're like an outdoor company.
Okay.
So this is kind of like the production area here. Still, again, work in progress, but we got work on 5 vans here just in this main production area. Average build time is about 4 weeks, start to finish for a van. That can vary a little bit depending on the model and what options
Yeah.
they select. But yeah, so and then each bay is set up so that you can do the full build all in one location. So because we looked at doing assembly lines, we looked at a lot of different like manufacturing layouts, but for us, because we don't do like batches, or not some cookie cutter RV thing that we're just cranking out the same thing over and over and over again, we wanted to set this up so that each bay essentially can go from start to finish every process because we're doing interlacing different models, different options. And so
Yeah.
because some bands take longer. You can't just get them into assembly line because all of a sudden this one finishes in 3 weeks and the one behind it takes 5 weeks and the one in front of it's at 4 weeks and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we opted to do this sort of setup where every bay has its the van rolls in and stays in that location unless it needs work outside of it. But we have our wash bay and we can down here so we can do all of our leak testing inside. So we have overhead sprayers. We can spray, do all of our leak tests.
So you guys throw water on it?
Oh yeah, yeah, we do. I mean, it's like a pressure washer. I mean, we test those things like.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first. It gets done twice, so it gets done as soon as the initial penetration's
Yeah.
done before any insulation or paneling goes up. So we do all of our penetrations, get it all sealed, do a full leak test on it. Then we build it out, and then it gets a final leak test at the very, very end. So that's that first bay there. And then, yeah, the vans will kind of move into their different bays as it goes. There's all service over here. So doing upgrades and repairs. So we can work on 5 or 6 service vans at a time. Alignment rack here. So doing alignments, oil changes. Yep. You can see here doing a suspension, big brake kit on this one. And this is actually a timber build that's going on right now. So our service department handles the installation of the timber. This takes about 5 days, start to finish these.
And so people can either do it themselves, you'll ship it to them, or you guys do it for them.
Yeah, exactly. So Timber Brand does essentially can help customers in 3 ways. We offer the conversion. So that's where we do the build out and they can still select from a variety of options and then we finish it out. We can ship it as a kit. So it's the exact same product that we install.
Yeah.
It's just all palletized. And I think we just had one that got picked up by just a big pallet, freighted to you. Shipping's included. So that's awesome. I think the base kit comes in at like 15 grand, includes everything. So that's the wiring harness, every connector, zip ties, rivets, screws.
Wow.
Every cabinet component comes flat packed, but you get all your hinges, your latches, the flooring, trim pieces for the flooring, even some of the insulation comes with it as well. Some of the upholstery, adhesives that you need to do installs. And then we have instructions and videos for the entire kit.
So the only thing that people need to install then is like a water tank, batteries, and
so they'll assemble, right? So it comes flat pack. So they'll assemble all their cabinets.
Yeah.
You can run your electrical wiring harness, do your insulation if you're doing any penetration. So like we have fans and we have trim rings that make the fan really easy to install and all the adhesives and fasteners you need. You can get windows with it as well. So again, we have the same thing. Heaters is one of the options.
Yeah.
So same thing. We got instructions on how to install it. So you start with all that, then you do your flooring, then your paneling, then your cabinetry, and then all of your finished systems. So you can see here, this is kind of like what these wiring harnesses look like. So it comes with all the connectors you need. Everything is already installed, every connector you need. So you just route it. And we have just all instructions and diagrams on how you route everything. We send it with like a little electrical panel. So it has all the components. So dimmer modules and brackets, and then like a little panel board. So everything's already pre-drilled and set up.
Oh yeah.
So just mount everything and get instructions and then just hook everything up.
That's so cool. I didn't realize you guys did all of that. I thought it was just the woodwork basically, but
So we designed all the wiring harnesses. We manufacture all the panel boards, all these plates we machine for all the different valves and sprayer assemblies.
So the only thing, what's left for the client to do essentially once
It's just installation.
Okay.
I mean, for this side, I mean, we do everything. For the conversion, it's a full service, right? So, I mean, you bring us an empty van, you get a finished van that's fully functional. functional. For the kit, you're doing it. It's a DIY product. You are building it, but you're not having to cut anything, right? I mean, there might be some holes that you have to put in the van, right, for that sort of stuff, drilling. But for the most part, there's a lot at that price point. I mean, we think there's a massive amount of value for like 15 grand.
Yeah. If you were to do all of this on your own, the amount of time it would take you, the mistakes you would make, and the problems you would have afterwards would be way more than 15, way more. Because we used to,
I mean, that's all the products, right?
Yeah.
15 grand covers every
Everything.
part
Yeah.
that is shipped out to you and with shipping included, right? So we've had really good feedback. We've had people that are not particularly handy, but that have bought our kits. And I try to design for my mom,
Yeah.
right? That was kind of my litmus test, right? I was like, Mom, can I send this to you?
Yeah.
You try and build this thing, right?
Was she able to?
Like the cabinets, for sure. She can absolutely assemble the cabinets.
Awesome.
Some of it gets a little bit harder when you're, drilling and stuff, right? Like that would be challenging for her. So it requires, there needs to be some comfortability with like drills and, that sort of stuff. But by no means do you need to be a cabinet maker. You don't need to be an electrician. You don't need to be a plumber. Like we've simplified it down, I think, as much as you can for this complex of a product. And we've sent it to people that have never built vans before, know how to use tools, but are not cabinet builders or professional builders. And they've been able to build it and almost no questions.
100%.
So the installation instructions are very, very thorough. When we have gotten feedback, we've tried to, improve the design on the timber side to just make it that much easier to install. So any feedback we get, it's immediate. And that's what's cool is because we don't stock this, right?
Yeah.
We don't stock cabinets.
Yeah.
We stock the wood. And everything is cut to order, right? And so right now, I think we're on like a 1 or 2 week turnaround time. So from time of order to out the door.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get that down, and we'll get into some of the new things that we got going on that's going to help us do that. But yeah, so the goal is to be 72 hours for any timber product. So even the full kits, 72 hours from time of order to out the door.
Awesome. So that's a really, really good option, especially for anyone considering DIY. That's insane amounts of value right there. Because as you know, like we used to have a course that we still have it that teaches people how to build their own van.
Yeah.
And obviously it's great if you want to go that route, but it's much better and much easier to just get a kit and then just.
And you still got to build it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not somebody doing it for you. There's still work that's got to be done. You can customize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can paint it, stain it, clear coat it. You can put your own flair on it. You can modify it because we sell the a la carte components too. So if you don't want to do you can just do portions of the kit.
Exactly.
You could buy the whole kit and you could add more stuff onto it. So I mean, you can really kind of make it your own.
100%.
Even though it's a quote unquote kit, right?
Exactly.
So
it's like the IKEA for van life.
Yeah, better quality.
Yeah, like better quality.
And the instructions are better too.
Yeah.
Everyone hates IKEA instructions, but I honestly think they're pretty good.
I thought that.
But yeah. But ours are better. So yeah. So then back here, we got our cabinetry shop. So we'll get back there. This is our shipping cell. So we're working on kind of fixing this up. We're going to be building a welding room back here. So right now, this is kind of where a lot of when we moved, a lot of stuff just got dumped over here. But we got our CNC mill. So we machine a lot of our own metal components. So that's that machine back there, all of our welders and kind of metal working here. Inventory. So this is obviously a big deal. Anybody who's watched some of our other videos, we talk a lot about how we manage our inventory system. And so this is the Titan storeroom here. So this takes a lot of effort, but it's a critical part of managing the company because you can have a lot of money sitting on the shelves if you do this wrong. And you can have a lot of projects not getting done if you do it wrong, right? So
organization,
making sure you don't run out of stuff. So we've only been here 6 weeks, right? So all of this has been set up in 6 weeks, right?
Wow.
So every location has a unique barcode for every location. Every bin has a label that's unique for that item. And then we actually, we glue the item onto the front so it's easier to see it. But you can also look it up. And so in our system, you can actually do an item search. And then everything's two-binned. Like this one's a better example. So this is like our back stock. So working stock will be on the floor. So anything that the techs need close by or any department, cabinetry, metalworking, whatever it is, they'll have their working stock on the floor. When they go to restock, they come back here and they grab their back stock. And then we have our Kanban cards. This is from the Toyota manufacturing Kanban card here. And then this is our safety stock back here. So the safety stock is dictated by lead time, order frequency, use on the floor, right? And that'll change how much we keep as a safety stock. So then once we hit that level, so once they replenish their on-floor inventory from here, once they go to reach back here, they pull the Kanban card, they scan it into the system. For example, if we wanted to reorder this, say we ran out, we come over here to the computer, we can put this guy in and we can scan it here. It'll pull the item up. And then we can hit Kanban reorder.
Wow.
So this software we built as well. So we designed this
Again,
whole software.
oh,
Yep,
wow.
in house. We just
We
couldn't
could
find.
license that out, man.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
We're still working out. This is like our third iteration of this software. We're working on the newest iteration right now, so there will be some improvements on this even further. But
That's awesome.
just internally, we needed something to manage. So that's just for the inventory side. So now you can scan it. You can see how many you have available. You can see the vendor. You can see lead times, order amounts, everything, all right there.
That's
And
impressive.
that's it. You drop the card. So now right here, you can see this is everything that's on order. So then as we receive items back in, we check them in, you grab the Kanban card, and then you go reset the working stock and the safety stock in its location.
Wow.
So, you just find, which one. This is electrical. So you find where it's at, electrical right here. We drop it in, and that's all. And anyone can manage the inventory system here, right? In that way.
That's so simple. Yeah.
Anybody can come grab, put it away.
Yeah.
And then we have our inventory people that actually do the receiving and restocking and stuff. But if you even color coded, so we're working on fixing a couple of them, but red's all for electrical, blue's all for plumbing, yellow is for Webasto parts. So for heaters, we stock, all of our Victron components, lots of stuff. I mean, there's so many parts. Fasteners is a big deal, right? So
Exactly.
tons and tons of fasteners. And so this is all just fasteners on this side here.
Wow.
So different screws, bolts, nuts, washers.
So I had a question about the screws.
Yeah.
Like I've heard some other builders say how like eventually, rattling vibration and stuff makes them come out. So like what's your take on that?
Yeah, it can. I mean, nothing ever vibrates tight. Right? Everything vibrates loose. So there is truth. And so like for our cabinets, we use rivets.
Okay.
We don't screw our cabinets in for that reason, because rivets are essentially vibration proof, right? I mean, they're a mechanical fastener. Once they're there, there's no thread, so they never unloosen.
Yeah.
Loctite though does a really good job. Or use aircraft nuts and bolts, right? So stuff with like nylocks in them. So nylocks are a great way. Thread locker's a good way. Screws. So all of our cabinetry, none of our cabinetry is assembled with screws. Some of the hardware, like the hinges and stuff like that, have screws in them, but the actual cabinets themselves, it's all joinery and wood glue, which again never fails, right? I mean, that stuff is just bulletproof. So we try and minimize fasteners, but there's a lot of times you got to put things together. So there's a lot of different types of fasteners that we use for different applications, all the different chemicals, sealants, adhesives, self-leveling, floor epoxy for securing floors down.
It's like a mini Home Depot in here.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, the Titan storeroom. Yeah, I love coming back here because it's just like, man, when
It's
these
so messy. Yeah, it's like I can literally go and find stuff, and I just walked in here right now.
Yeah,
right?
you can always search it, and it tells you where it's at too.
Exactly,
So as long as you know the name of it, right, that's kind of the only difficult part. But yeah, we try, and that's my litmus test most of the time is like, can a new person come in here and manage this system?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, the system needs to be improved because
Exactly.
it should be dead simple, right?
100%.
Now it's hard to set up, but it should be dead simple to actually interact. It should be intuitive, right? And so I think this.
I love that. Yeah.
It's getting there. Well, I'm always looking for places to improve.
I came from a background of software, and that's basically the game too, right? Like,
Yeah, intuitive. You want the
easy.
generated user interface to be intuitive. You don't want them to have to like, go 10 tabs deep to like save,
And I've toured so many different van builders, and I'll tell you, like, this is probably one of the most organized setup that
This is 6 weeks in.
yeah. And that's only
I mean, dude, it's like there's so much we need to do here still, and it'll get, if you come back in another 3 months, this will look kind
What
of
is
quick.
this?
Packing peanuts.
Oh, okay, I'll say.
Yep, just for packaging. So there's our packaging cell. So we're working on improving this, but we kind of did a quick setup. One thing I really like to do is just test things out. We want to be able to move quickly. So rather than kind of being like having an idea, like let's build it, we have an idea, like, okay, how can we roughly set this up quickly to see if this works? And then I want you to use it this way for the next like 2 weeks, and then give me the feedback from the people that are actually here working. And then let's fix what you're doing. And then once we've done that for a couple of months, then we're like, okay, now we have a very good idea how this space is going to be used. So let's actually
Amazing.
build it. So this we just kind of roughed in, but we'll start down here. So
it's kind of like a R&D apartment.
yeah, everything is. Also, the whole thing is, right? I mean, we're constantly looking at that. So like right here, these are like parts that come off the CNC, right? So we have all these parts. You can print off your packaging list right here. So you look up the sales order, whoever it's for, you can print off their name. So we put a sticker on everything that goes out the door. Like this one right here. This one says batch overstock. So this is an item that got cut with another item for a sales order, but some things nest on a sheet of plywood. You might get 2 or 3 of them out of one thing.
Yeah.
And so then we get this batch overstock. So that goes on the box so we know exactly. And then it goes into our inventory system. And so then if a sales order comes in, it pulls from
I was gonna ask
our overstock first. Yep. And so then they can just go and grab it and then put a shipping label on it. But say it's an item it's for a customer, so something like that. They'd look it up, they'd print off the packaging list. So this will all be like a rolling assembly line eventually. So this will have like roller wheels on top of it. So it'll feed down. So you can put the item on, you'll feed it down. All these boxes are going to get organized underneath the table and up above. So you'll roll it over here. You can grab your box, whichever one. Each one's specific to different items so that it doesn't get damaged in shipment. Some of these are custom made, and we're actually going to get a laser CNC machine just to cut boxes.
Wow.
Because I mean, you can see how much box inventory takes up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is like, it's crazy, man. Like, I mean, how much money is just in boxes?
Yeah.
Like, people don't think about it, but like when you're paying for shipping, like you're paying for people to store boxes, to package it, to get it out the door, like all that stuff. Like it's there's a lot of money, surprisingly, as I've learned doing this.
That's what I mean, though. Matt is like an extremely, extremely efficient guy. Like he's talking about cutting his own boxes in house.
Yeah, if we want to just stock sheets of cardboard and then just put it on the laser. So we'll get back to the CNC machines, but when the part comes off for a sales order, you cut the part. You then come over, you cut your box to fit that part, and then you can move on to actually packaging it versus having to stock all these different sizes. And what if you change a part? What if it gets bigger? What if it gets smaller? All of a sudden you have all these boxes that don't fit anything anymore. So you'll come over here, you'll package it, you'll do boxes, you'll roll it on through, you come down to your small parts, you grab all your hardware for whatever it is. We got all of our small part boxes here. You package all of the small hardware, you're going to roll it down through, and then this will be the shipping station to ship it out. So right now we're kind of testing this flow out by just using tables on rollers and kind of rolling through this area. But eventually, once we kind of figure out where we want everything and how they're using it on the floor, it'll all get built into a nice assembly line.
And by the way, like the reason we're showing you guys this is so you can see the behind the scenes and the amount of work that goes into building these vans. And you can also appreciate the quality and the craftsmanship and all the ideas and the work and the team that goes into it, right? And that way you feel more confident when you're purchasing the end product because you know you've been taken care of from literally day one. And the second thing here is like, as we've seen literally in this entire facility, every single thing is so well thought out from the factory alone. Obviously, that also reflects into the van. But what that means is that Matt and his team are working on making everything extremely, extremely efficient. And that means that they, as a business, they have their margins. But that also means that you, as the end consumer, you know, you get a quality product, but also at a very, very reasonable price. And we saw that with the DIY kits. They're going to see that with their vans as well.
So yeah, I think it's a good way to encapsulate it because I think I do, you know, we post a lot of stuff, videos online, right? You get everybody commenting like, oh, I can't believe I could build that for $100. You know, it's like, yeah, you might be able to, you know, because you're no overhead. You're not counting your time, right? And, you know, it's all how you value your time. And yeah, and there's, you know, trying to stock all of this and the shipping cost, you know, landed cost to get things here and then to pay people living wages, you know, and, you know, especially where we're at, it's an expensive place to live. Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into it. And then there's the design time and, you know, all that just, you know, even to make all the products, right? And so, yeah, so these are all DIY products, right? These are all stuff that we designed. Now we do outsource the manufacturing of this, but these are all our components that we design. We prototype with like 3D printers before we send them to final manufacturing. But these are all the structural kits that go in behind the paneling. So these are really, really important. And I think this is something that, and they're not cheap, but they make the final product so much better. So this is like corner structural. So this is where you have a wire chase. So we integrated a wire chase into our corner structural. So it makes it, you don't have to cut any part of the van. You can route all your wiring behind this, which gets mounted onto the walls and the ceiling right in the corner. And then that's what your wall panels and your ceiling panels stick into. But because you have this, it creates a nice straight line. Because otherwise, every van is curved. Doesn't matter if it's a ProMaster, Transit, Sprinter, Nissan, whatever. They're all curved. And so wood doesn't want to be curved, right? And so in between each rib, you'll see it doing this, right? Without something like this, the corner structural. So when you mount this corner structural, it now gives it that nice flat surface to force that nice clean line where your wall panels and ceiling panels are going to meet. Plus, we've integrated into it that wire chase. We sell this as an a la carte product, right? So you can buy just this if you don't want to do the kit and you're just like, hey, I'm going to do everything myself. 100%. You're too expensive, whatever it is. Buy this, right? Because this is very hard to make by yourself, right? I mean, this took, I don't even know. We probably went through 20 different iterations of this to come up with a way. Because we also wanted to be able to go off and on. Because if you're doing it as a wire chase, we figured it to be serviceable. So we, you know, could you just like screw this thing in or rivet it in? Yeah, it would have been a lot simpler. But we designed it with like riv nuts and slots. And so it only goes together one way. So everything kind of has like different fingers that kind of go together so that it only can go together in one direction. And then everything's laser cut with labels on it too. And then this is our overhead cabinet structural. So this goes in the corner, and then this goes for the cabinets to get mounted too. So we've done a pull test on our cabinets. The cabinets failed at over 2,000 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Right?
1,000?
2,000
That's
pounds.
insane.
Right. And it wasn't the cabinet that failed, it was the rivets that just pulled through the sheet metal.
Okay, that's
Right. So it's actually the sheet metal that's the weakest link here. The rivets were fine. They were bulged and they just pulled through the metal. The reason we want that sort of level, right, is not because anyone's going to put 2,000 pounds in their cabinets, but if you have 100, 150 pounds in the cabinets and you get into a impact, it's like 10 times the force.
Exactly.
Right. So if you have 100 pounds, it's 1,000 pounds of force on that cabinet if you're in an impact. Right. And so we want those sort of things to be addressed.
This is what I mean when I say like extremely well thought out. Like no one's thinking this far ahead in the.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. This is the way my brain works. Yeah, it's a terrible place to be sometimes. But this cabinet structural, again, we sell as its own product. So you can buy just the cabinet structural, mount that, and just to make it easier for DIYers to install. Because I see so many Facebook posts and whatever, people are like, how do you mount these things? How do you do it? Like people using riv nuts or screws or whatever, right? But this makes it so easy. And all of our cabinets come with installation hardware. So you get all the hardware, every rivet you need, everything. So if you buy these along with your cabinet, again, you can pick and choose. We want to make it easy for the DIYer. We're not trying to pigeonhole people into like buy the whole kit or nothing. You can literally buy just this if that's of value to you, So
that's awesome. Tons of options.
that's what we want. We want to bring people value. I don't want them to buy things they don't need.
Yeah.
If they find value in it, awesome, And I think we've found a lot of value because we use these same products in our Titan vans. Cabinetry area back here. So still getting set up. This is where all the sanding comes in here. So if items come off the CNC floor, they come back here. We sand everything. They move over to assembly. And then this is kind of where the assembly is at. So you can see the components when they come off the CNC. Right, lots of joinery throughout here. Different parts are going to have different ways to join all the cabinets together. So again, no screws in any of our cabinets. So all this will get sanded. All the edges get a oil waxed finish on all the edges. So we don't use any edge banding on any of our cabinets, especially the ones that are on the ground. On our overhead cabinets, there's a little bit of edge banding, but on our overhead cabinets, there's no edge banding. Excuse me, on our floor cabinets, no edge banding because you're going to kick it. You're going to be putting bikes in, motorcycles in. It's going to get torn up very fast.
Exactly.
So we do an oil finish on all the edges. That's so moisture doesn't get in. So you don't get warping and, cutting in the plywood. And so then once they're done being sanded, they'll move over here to assembly. So you can kind of see what some of these in progress look like. But yeah, you can see, there's literally no fasteners in this entire cabinet right now. So the carcass is all put together with joinery throughout, all clamped and wood glued. So, it would literally take a sledgehammer to take these things apart.
Wow.
They're
extremely well built.
Yeah. Yep. 3/4 inch plywood. You can see how many layers are in the plywood too, right? It's like 24 veneers in there. So that keeps it very dimensionally stable because they cross laminate all of the veneers, right? So one's going this direction and then the next one goes this direction. So wood always wants to expand and contract. And so they essentially fight each other by cross laminating. So that's what gives you a nice straight edge and it's not going to go all crazy on you. So all stainless steel hardware, nothing plastic. And you can see we already have slots for our bed rails already machined in there. So the rails just go in, get bolted in. We try and minimize, if techs are having to take out tape measures and drills, the design wasn't right. Right. So we try and optimize the design so that we're really just assembling. And a lot of the effort goes into the design to make it come together well so that it can go into the van well. So you can see here, instead of edge banding, right, we're putting corner aluminum trim that gets epoxied on. You wouldn't be able to take this thing off without tearing the entire cabinet. It would rip the whole cabinet edge off to get that off. But if you hit that with like a pedal, motorcycle, whatever, you're not going to do any damage to it. You might scratch it, but you can always sand it if you want.
100%.
But there's no edge band that's just going to tear off and look like
That's very satisfying.
Quickly.
Oh, this is soft close?
Yeah, everything's soft close. You can see the oil finish there. Yep. Maybe adjust the soft close.
Yeah.
If it's like not closing fast enough. And then here's some of the timber products. So this is exactly what they look like assembled, but they come flat packed, right? This is just kind of, so these are ones that we're doing for that van that's getting built over there. So all the cabinets, we're going to do all the assembly on them.
Amazing.
This has the oil finish on them. We are coming out with some new finish options. So some different ones that are going to include some like bamboo for some of the paneling and then some pre-laminated. So it won't be quite that level, but it will be kind of a step in between
100%.
this and that thing there. So
Amazing.
We'll have an upholstery room. Here is our spray room. This is where we're going to do all of our upholstery spraying. So we laminate up a lot of our own sheets. A lot of our upholstery is laminated. So the spray booth obviously just required just for keeping everybody safe and working. And then back here is it's my favorite room. So this is where we machine all the components, right? All the CNC, these are called CNC routers, right? So CNC stands for computer navigated cutting. You can have a lot of different CNC machines, right? You can have CNC mills, which cut metal, CNC lasers, CNC routers. So essentially like your handheld router, but just controlled by a computer.
Yeah.
And then all the designs and the cut paths are put into the system.
Yeah.
So we do all the design, and then you have to flatten all the designs, right? Because your cabinets are 3-dimensional, but this can't cut it does cut in 3 dimensions, but can't cut a cabinet out, right? We have to nest everything. So we try and optimize it, right? So that as things come off and are cut, you use up almost the entire sheet of plywood. So it helps reduce cost.
Wasting as minimal plywood as possible that
Yep.
way. And the benefit of this is what?
Just durability.
Durability?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, I mean, this thing can take an impact. I mean, you're walking on it, you're pulling stuff on there. So
Bring gear in there.
yeah, so it's kind of like for our classic model, that's the model that, people are putting like snowmobiles and ATVs and, they're rolling their tools in during the week and then pulling tools out and then putting in their, in their seats and all their stuff. So this just does a much better job of holding up to the wear and tear, especially for that type of van that's going to be used like that.
Yeah.
For some of the other vans that you're like living out of full time, you might not be taking it out. That's our other models, and that's where some of that cabinetry has a different finish option for it. So
This is the adventure van type of stuff.
yeah, much more like rugged, durable, modular. So our classic is really sort of geared towards that. So, starts off with the raw material. We slide the sheets on, you press go, and it does all the cutouts. And then we get those parts, rolls over to the cabinetry, and then over to production.
Amazing.
And
very impressive.
This is the new machine. So we're going to be able to run both machines simultaneously now. And so, the big difference is here. So this one literally, I think I was telling you, but came online like today. Yeah. We've been doing the install for the last 2 weeks here, but it's now, they're doing some test runs on it right now. So this thing's going to be actually, I'm starting to eat a lot of plywood here soon. But that machine, so you notice, right, it's a single bed. So what that means is you can see we store all the sheet goods there. So he loads it onto the machine. There's little pins that come up, right? And then you can slide the board onto it. I was going to show you, he's got it taped down though. So you slide the board on, you put the pins down, do a little bit of tape, and then there's a big vacuum pump down here. So the vacuum pump sucks air down through this tabletop. So that's why you don't have to clamp it. So it sucks the board down so it doesn't move. You load in all your different tools. So we got lots of different types of tool cutters for all the different types of materials. And that took a long time to figure out the right way to cut it so you don't get tear out and you get a nice surface finish. So you have to do all sorts of stuff. Like at first you have to do a down cut. So that's a bit that as it turns, it's actually pushing the material back in. So you do that, but we just do that 1/16 of an inch just to kind of cut through that top layer. Because if you do an up cut, it's pulling the material away and it'll start chipping. And you get a bad surface finish. So we have to do a little down cut first, would be the whole thing. Then we have to come back and do an up cut to get all that material out of there as we're actually cutting the bulk of it. So you load it in, cut it. Now you got to take it off all your parts. So you offload all your parts onto your cart. You got to vacuum off the table because it definitely produces a lot of dust. And then you put the pins up, load the new board on, reset it, and press go. That sounds pretty efficient, especially if you're used to making cabinets by hand. But if you think about it, this machine's not running 2/3 of the time. Like you have to set it up. You press go, then it's running. Then it's making money, right? Then it's actually doing what you want it to do. Then it stops. Then you got to offload it, clean it, reload it, press go again.
A lot of downtime.
A lot of downtime. Now this machine, right, this is where this gets really exciting over here. This machine does 3 operations all at once. That's why it's 3 times the size at least, right? So right, that's a single bed machine. So this machine here starts on this end. So you load your sheet goods onto here. This will automatically lift up and down. It automatically, these boards here automatically pulls the board in. So those little suction cups come down, slides the board back to get it in line where it needs to be. The table will lift up and it'll hit that little sensor right there. So it tells it what the height is. And then this guy grabs the board, pulls it on, automatically lines it up, starts cutting, right? So the first time, it's not all that different when it goes to pull on the very first board. Not really all that different than that other machine.
Got it.
But once it's done cutting, it has a big gate on the back. So it drops the gate and it actually pushes all of the cut items off. And it goes onto the outfeed conveyor belt. As it's doing that, it's pulling on a new board. It vacuums off the table, pulls on the new board, pushes off everything you cut, and it immediately starts cutting again. So you can spend time on the outfeed table. And this is like your grocery store conveyor belt, right? It's got a laser on the end. And so you, as you're pulling the parts off, it just brings the next set of parts up to you and you pull those off. So it's already cutting while you're doing the outfeed. And as soon as it's done, right, then it just pushes the next set off, pulls the new board on and starts cutting. So it's almost always cutting. Right. And it just moves much, much faster. So
That's awesome. Yeah, way more efficient.
Way more efficient. The whole thing is just much more industrial. So it can cut faster, can move faster, and it's cutting more off.
Yeah.
He was just telling us this thing, when it moves, so it has like different ways it moves. We call it rapid, where it moves really fast. It moves at 80 meters per second. So I did the quick calculations, 178 miles per hour. That's how fast this entire thing moves.
That's insane.
When it's like moving quickly. Now, when it's cutting, it won't be moving that fast. But yeah, it's the whole head can just move so fast. And so that's why this is a laser gate that goes across the front. So these big towers are lasers. So if you cross the laser, it'll stop the machine
for safety.
Yeah, because it can move that fast. So
as you say,
yeah, it's a pretty serious machine. So we're
very
excited.
expensive.
It's pretty impressive what they can do. And this is not new technology by any means, right? The cabinetry industry has been using this sort of stuff for decades and decades. So yes, it's not cheap, but it's surprisingly economical for what they are. They're not in the millions or anything.
Exactly.
Like that, And then over here, dust collector, right? So a big old trunk that runs down, so it just helps to keep everything clean. You gotta evacuate all of that chips and stuff so it doesn't, if it stays in there and you're spinning that spindle, it actually cause a fire. So you gotta get all those chips up and out of there as quickly as possible. Yeah, but this is kind of where, a big portion of it. So with the DIY, this is where this machine is going to get those lead times down.
Are they currently?
For a lot of our products, I mean, it's about that. I'd say it's less than a week from time of order to shipping out the door. For our full kits, it's taking a little bit longer because you can see that machine over there. It's a lot of labor to load that thing, take it out, package it, get it out the door. So for a full kit, right, you're cutting all the panels, the floor, every single cabinet, and then you're boxing up all the other components. So that's taking us a little over 2 weeks right now from time of order to out the door. Not bad.
What's the goal to bring it down?
72 hours.
72 hours. Okay.
From time of order to out the door.
This is definitely worth it then.
Yeah. And so what's cool about this, right, is that when we get an order in and we'll start our day, we can actually pull all the sheets we need for the entire day and load it all onto here at one time. There's no more switching materials out. So you count all your sheets, you load in every sheet in order of how you plan on cutting it. You press go, and as long as you have somebody on that outfeed just taking parts off, this thing will just go. So it's just a massive improvement on efficiency here. So bringing those lead times down, bringing costs down, bringing production times down. So in 4 years, right? Everyone's talking about inflation and how expensive. 4 years, we have not raised prices.
Wow.
Not one time.
But you made it more efficient. That's how that's impressive.
Yeah. So yes, we pay more for almost everything that we buy. There's no doubt, right? We're not insulated from that, but we have not passed any of that along to customers.
And that's what I mean when I was saying, like, because of the efficiency, because of everything you're seeing and the way everything is set up, like they pass the savings on to the customer while also keeping it.
Yeah, we want to be competitive. It's not a cheap product. The effort is massive to make these things happen. So
100%.
I would not consider this a cheap product, but I think for the value, I think for me, obviously I'm biased, but I think the value is there. And the way we've been trying to build more value for customers is by keeping our prices, holding them, and trying to find ways where we can not cut quality. That's never what we look to do. It's how do we produce more efficiently?
Exactly.
And efficient to me never means reducing quality. Quality is always of the 100%. So.
And this is a great example of that. You go from that machine to this machine.
Yeah, you got to make the investment. Yeah, it's a lot of time and money to get it here, but then that, this is a 5-10 year machine investment for us, right? Like we'll recoup that over that 100%. Time period, but it's just going to make us produce much more efficiently. So main areas, still a lot to be done. Everywhere I look, I'm like, oh, I got to do that. Yeah. But it's come a long ways in the 6 weeks, and, we're super excited to have the 2 buildings in one.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, you've built an incredible business. Everything you guys are doing is extremely well thought out. And I think the customers, the buyers, the people who are looking for a van actively, maybe they're looking for a DIY kit, they're going to be able to appreciate a lot of things you guys are doing a lot more because now they got to see the behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's always cool. It's like, I always love that show. It was a Discovery or whatever.
Yeah, I love that.
It was so popular, right? Because people love seeing 100%. What really goes into, like, whether it's making a toothpick or whatever, right? But I think we're a little more interesting than toothpicks, but But, like, it is not easy. It is a lot of work to make something to a high quality, and
Exactly.
testament to this team, and we're super excited, and we're always looking to improve. So things are only going to get better.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. And this is also great for like the people who wonder like why are these vans so expensive? Like now you're getting to see obviously the chassis itself costs a lot and now you're getting to see all of the work, the overhead, the commitment, the team and all of the just the resources that go into this, right? And you're going to start to appreciate it a lot more. I don't
yeah, and
think
even in this video, we've only covered. I mean, in my opinion, we probably talked about only 20%
oh
of
yeah.
what we actually do.
We'd be here for days.
Oh man, I mean, you talk about design, you talk
Yeah.
about marketing, you talk about the
100%.
aesthetics, and then the website, and I mean, just like the layers just keep going. So I mean, it's just like we've looked at the fun part,
Yeah.
but there's so much more that goes into even just making it happen, and
Awesome.
it's fun. I get to do a lot of different things every day. Sometimes I'm back here running electrical. Other days I'm talking to customers.
Yeah.
So it keeps it pretty exciting.
That was amazing, man. And you built an incredible company, honestly.
No, thanks, appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Yeah.
showing us around.
Cool. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah, totally. Thanks for coming.